Hello again. Welcome back to Vienna. Today, I thought I would try this live stream thing one more time. Hopefully I will be able to keep the camera a bit steadier today. I'll do my best as I'm walking around. Today, as you can see, we are starting in a train station. This is the Schönbrunn station. The station for the Palace Schönbrunn, Schloss Schönbrunn. And I'm gonna take you guys through the palace grounds all the way up to the Glorietta, which is way up a big hill. But I think this will be kind of neat. We'll chat a little bit of Heroes of Time stuff, including some audiobook stuff, which is not something I've talked a whole lot about. And also yesterday, if you saw my video from yesterday, we did a title reveal of the next Heroes of Time novel, which is, and I'll switch around here, I'm back on the street level. Next Heroes of Time novel is Heroes of Time Legends, The Healer. So very excited to reveal that to you guys. I'm just kind of getting my bearings here. Yeah, main entrance I believe is this way. Beautiful day here in Vienna. Again, for late February. This is really nice weather. It's about 55 degrees. A little bit overcast, but still pretty sunny. I've been here some years, even in March, where it was just bitter cold, freezing, snow on the ground, well below freezing. So this is quite nice. I said I would hold the camera steadier. I'm going to try. Not super easy without the selfie stick, I guess. The palace grounds here are massive. Now, Schönbrunn Palace is one of the famous sites in Vienna. Lots of history. And it's just expansive. Huge grounds. You'll see. The only unfortunate thing is that it's winter time. So the gardens are not out. Usually there's, I guess in the summertime. I've been lucky enough to be here one time during the summer. And in the summertime, the gardens are out, lots of flowers, very pretty, a lot greener and more colorful, but this is still pretty nice. So I know a little bit about the palace just because I've been here so many times. It was a home, I think a summer home, of the Habsburg dynasty, which was one of the main ruling classes of Europe, one of the dynasties of Europe from like the 1200s through the early 1900s. So they ruled for like over 600 years in the Austrian Empire. And they don't, as you'll see here in a bit, they didn't do anything small. So I actually came out this way last night for dinner. It was about a half an hour train ride from my hotel. Again, the train system's very nice here. I've always felt very safe in Vienna. The train system is super easy. You get one ticket for like the week, and remarkably, nobody ever checks the tickets. In the, I don't know, 10, 11, some odd years I've been here, I've been coming here, maybe once have they ever actually asked for a ticket, and that was only because there was some kind of like other European head of state in town, and they were amping up the security a bit. So I guess they have a pretty reliable honor system, or they trust their citizens a lot, or they're just not that worried about it for some reason. But I did the right thing. I bought a ticket, even though I know they don't ever check it. That's what you should do, right? Very efficient trains. And they've been the same trains. Like, I've seen two different kinds of trains. Some of them are older and some of them are newer. And I've seen the same ones always. It's like they never break down. I'm sure they do, but I've never noticed it. Alright, so we're coming through kind of the touristy entrance. This is where the tour buses come in. Little gift shop here. See, it's a pretty good hike just to get to the front. You even see kids taking the trains. I just saw a bunch of school children actually on the way here. So last night, you know, you guys saw the video yesterday. I got into Vienna yesterday morning, and told you guys I hadn't slept, which is true, and also told you that it would be dangerous to fall asleep when you're trying to adjust to a different time zone of this magnitude. This is 6 hours ahead of what's home for me in the Eastern Time Zone, USA. And I, against my own advice, sometime after lunch, after I got back, after walking around for a while, I went back to the room and crashed for about 3 hours. So I ignored my own advice, and as a result, I ended up being up till about 3 in the morning, local time. Did not feel tired, did not want to go to bed. Finally made myself, did fall asleep, and then here across some streets here, and then couldn't hardly wake up. It's really, really hard to wake up. It's just dragging in you, because when I'm waking up here, it's in the middle of the night at home. Morning here is the middle of the night, and that makes it a little bit harder when your body clock hasn't adjusted yet. See a couple of guys posing as statues here. I think this palace was built back in the 1700s, and it's been restored a couple times. When you think about that, think of what has happened in the world since the 1700s. It's amazing. The wars. You can see pictures online of this place. Here we go to the front gates. You can see pictures online of this place during the World Wars. Pictures of Soviet soldiers hanging out here. Pictures of British soldiers hanging out here. Tons of history. So you can just see this expansive ground in this front area. You know, people back then were more concerned with making an impression than practicality. And it definitely shows here. Now, I read that this was built on a natural water basin. And it's another interesting point, how the water is in Vienna. It's really good. The main tap water in Vienna actually comes from the Alps, spring water from the Alps. So if you can imagine, you know, those expensive bottles of Evian from the French Alps that we have. Imagine that's what's coming out of your tap. That's what you're showering in, and just turn on the faucet and you can fill up a bottle of Evian, and it'd be pretty much the same thing. So that's very nice. Probably want to see the palace more than my face, huh? So I actually came from that direction. If you can see those arches there, I was walking through there last night. There's a restaurant down that way. So that's where I went for dinner. We're going to enter through a little garden area over here, what would normally be the garden during the summertime. Again, during the winter, it's pretty much dried up and nothing's out, but it's still pretty nice. You can walk these grounds for free to the public. The only thing that costs any money is the actual tour of the interior, if you want to check out the inside, which is pretty cool. You know, as an author, I have to talk about inspirations, and I have definitely taken a lot of inspirations from my various travels, including this place. There are some settings specifically that I have taken from or based on just really neat, opulent settings that I've seen inside the palace here at Schönbrunn. And just vast walkways. The buildings just go on and on and on, this side and the other side. There's some 1,400 rooms in this place. So you can kind of just imagine, honestly, because I think it's been so warm, some of the stuff's kind of coming out. Some of the green's starting to come out. But yeah, you can imagine just flowers everywhere during the summertime. These big vines here are flourishing with green and flowers in the summertime. And these areas of dirt that you see outlined, those are all going to be flower beds as well. Expansive ground. If you need a place for the kids to run around, this would be a good place for you. Inside the palace, as you can imagine, is just full of amazing architecture, statues, busts, chandeliers, really amazing wall features, things like porcelain and gold sort of in the walls. I think the tour only covers like 45 rooms in this place. As I mentioned, the actual palace has over 1,400 rooms. It's entertained heads of state, John F. Kennedy, and countless people over the years. Survived multiple wars, And from what I can tell in old pictures, still looks pretty much the same. So where we're going is up there, Glorietta. And Glorietta is what they call this structure up there. It's actually it's a word meaning structure over a hill overlooking a garden. From what I saw, it's that specific. The one here, I think, is considered to be about the most famous such structure. Add it back to me for a second with the palace in the background, so you can see more than just my smiling face. So yeah, a little bit about the Heroes of Time audiobook. We came out with the audiobook for Heroes of Time Murdoch's Choice in the beginning, as soon as that book came out. And more recently, I would say a year or so ago, we came out with a revised single narrator edition, which was our narrator Ed Romanoff doing a number of edits. I had actually made some edits to the novel itself, some revisions to add a little bit, and fix a couple print issues. And then we had Ed go back and do some edits to the original audiobook. Some of it was the text that I had edited. Some of it were things like sound effects that maybe carried on a little bit too long, background noises, adding some, taking some away, just fixing up a few things based on feedback. And so we've got that one out. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. The way I like to do audiobooks, I consider it to be, an additional way to experience the story, right? I like it to be a special way to experience the story. I like it to be its own experience. So, one of the reasons I chose Ed as a narrator, if you see the interview video I did with him recently, we talked a lot about this, is because he does such a great job acting out parts and actually bringing extra life to it. So it's more of a production. He brings voices, character voices, and I'm actually going a step further with this, and we're already in the midst of creating an ensemble cast version. So 2 different ways to experience the story, even by audiobook. You'll have the single narrator edition, which I think some people prefer, maybe less, I don't know, some people just prefer less voices, I guess. Maybe it's less jarring from a narrative standpoint. And then you'll have the ensemble cast, or more dramatic audiobook, which was going to bring in several cast members, and we'll have cast members from all around the world. There'll be cast members from the UK, from America, from Australia, and from Brazil. So we're covering 4 different countries and 4 different continents across our cast. We'll probably do various cast interviews. It's fun. We've got most of the recordings in already from the cast. We just need to edit things now and put it together. So really excited to do that. Also, the audiobook for Murdoch's Shadow, Book 2, is in production right now with Ed. That'll be the single narrator edition. And that's coming along nicely. So I'm already starting to get his initial recordings from that. So really excited to share that epic story with you guys via audiobook. So got a lot on the pipeline. Hope you guys will continue to check it out. Switch here. We're getting close to a very large fountain. I always kind of wondered how old fountains worked. As I've read, this fountain was commissioned by many emperors and empresses have come and gone, lived and died in this palace. You can kind of see where we are. Here's Schönbrunn Palace. on for hours, I'm sure, for as big as this place is, trying to look at all the different statues and monuments. But yeah, I always wondered how old fountains like this worked without the use of things like electric pumps. And as I read about this one, it sits on a natural water basin. They obviously still can turn it on and off. Right now it is off, unfortunately, just because of the time of year. They only run this from April to October. And one time I was here in the summer, I got to see it on, and it was pretty neat. So this is the Neptune Fountain, commissioned by Mary Teresa back in the late 1700s. I think it took 4 years to build, and was completed shortly before she died. I think especially for the 1700s, this is quite a large fountain. So we'll continue up the side here. This is going to take us to the pathway up to the Glorietta. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon here in Vienna, which makes it about, I think, 7:30 in the morning back at home. Somewhere this direction, I think through that gate, there's actually a zoo that they considered to be, or they claim to be, the oldest zoo in the world. You hear lots of claims like that in Europe. Alright, so if I start breathing a little bit heavier, this is a pretty steep hike, but hopefully 41-year-old me can still handle it okay. I'm over 40, but I still play basketball almost every week when I'm at home with guys half my age or less. Now you can go around the backside of this fountain too. There you go. Nice little view from behind the Neptune Fountain. All right, so now we have the hike. You can see this kind of a water trough here, I think, for drainage. I'm going to guess in the 1700s this wasn't so neatly paved with gravel or packed, but I don't know. As you go farther and farther up this hill, and we'll see it once we get to the top, the view of the city becomes pretty remarkable. I'm actually going up the steeper way. This is slightly more direct. you can take the less steep winding path. But I'm going to lunch at the top here, so I'll waste no time. It's a pretty neat view that way. View opening up a bit. So the Glorietta structure up here at the top was used as an imperial dining hall with a view of all the gardens. It was largely destroyed during, I think it was World War II. But then rebuilt pretty quickly. And then, of course, in more modern times, converted into a cafe. There you go, Vienna. Like I said, practicality wasn't their top concern. Making an impression was much more important to these kind of people. And so here's a time, the next novel, the prequel volume here is A Time Legends, The Healer. We are looking at a launch date of May 1st at this point. Probably we'll have it ready in some form much sooner than that, but that's going to give us plenty of time to make sure everything's ironed out. I've tried to push launches a little bit fast in the past, and that can be a little stressful. So I figured this time we would give ourselves some breathing room. I say breathing room as I try to catch my breath from that climb. So, Vienna and Schloss Schönbrunn. And here is Glorietta. Very impressive stuff. Okay, guys, well, I think that's gonna do it for me. I'm going to go around here into the cafe and get some lunch. And I hope you enjoyed this little walk through the palace and some of my limited knowledge about it. I'm sure there's gobs and gobs and gobs of history that I don't know, but bits and pieces I've picked up over the years. And really, no matter how much of it you know, it's impossible not to appreciate just the majesty of these structures and the dynasty that it came from. So with that, I will see you guys later. And until next time, may the winds fare you well.